Good morning, everybody. Okay, so morning, how are you? It's me, Mrs. A. Right now, what you're looking at is my screen. The first thing I did was I went to Papa Cambridge. I pulled up the 2013 June exam question paper 2. And what I want to go through is not only Chapter 1, as you see here, but I also want to go through the first part of Chapter 2, which is what you're going to see down here, okay? So this is the first of our reviews. We are going to be reviewing for a couple weeks before we get into our final exam. Now, how are we going to do a final exam? Well, a final exam is going to be identical to your pre-exam, right? The exam that you took when you first got into my class, and I asked you to do your best, even if you didn't know the material, just try. And so if you remember what year that was, then it feels like you're going to do really well in memorizing. And we'll get into that in the upcoming videos. But for right now, let's focus on Chapter 1, okay? So if you look here, this is my AICE Marine cheat sheet, right? And I have given you guys sections of this throughout the year. The first section, obviously, is on the scientific method. So Cambridge finds that the scientific method is important, as all scientists do, because it's the proper procedure for you to follow so that you'd be able to have a dependable study that has replicable results, all right? So when Cambridge asks about the scientific method, usually what they do is what you see here. So they'll give you an actual experiment. So figure 1.1 shows a sea cucumber. It's a marine invertebrate with free-swimming planktonic larvae. These larvae settle on a suitable substrate where they grow and develop into adult sea cucumbers, right? Then they'll give you some information about what they did to maintain a credible study. So they carried out this experiment to investigate whether sea cucumber larvae showed a preference toward, so this is what they're looking at, right? Preference toward a suitable substrate. They set up chambers, all right? They showed you what they set up in each chamber, told you how many larvae they were releasing, said that they were keeping physical and chemical variables controlled, gave you the amount of time that they were going to let this experiment run. And then how they were going to collect the data. Oh, hi, Elizabeth. And then they ask you to interpret the results. So with reference to the data table right here, describe the results of this experiment. So you describe exactly what you see. Between the substrates, seagrass had the highest total percentage of settlement at 10.5%. Crushed coral and the mixture of crushed coral and sand were the second highest, and then your sand was the lowest or least preferred substrate to settle on at 0.2%. Okay, so you have to describe exactly what you see. Then formulate a hypothesis based on the data table, right? So if sea cucumber larvae are placed into 4 separate containers containing different substrates such as et cetera, right? Your seagrass up to your mix of your coral and your sand. They will prefer to settle on seagrass, right? So that would be a testable hypothesis. Now, suggest 2 advantages to sea cucumber larvae of being able to select a particular substrate for settlement. So being able to choose their substrate. Why is that important? What is the advantage of that? So as opposed to just going into the water and there you go, if you settle there and it's not good, oh well, these organisms are able to select, right? So 2 advantages, and then you would write that. The next part, and this is usually the high number, right, is going to be outline a laboratory-based experiment you could carry out to investigate this preference, right? So they'll tell you that they want to see if they prefer a specific species of seagrass versus another, right? So the researchers carried out a further experiment to determine whether sea cucumber larvae showed a preference for one particular species of seagrass, Thalassia, versus the Euhalis, right? The only thing you have to change here, so you go right up here and, oh, look at that. I'm going to copy every single thing except this. As opposed to putting seagrass, crushed coral, sand, and whatever, you'll put the 2 types of seagrass, and everything else is the same. This is one of the easiest questions to get the most points on, because all you're doing is, this is what's in the table. This is how I would test it. This is why it's important. Look, I copied every single thing you wrote minus the independent variable. The only thing we changed were the species of seagrass, right? So I want you to go to Pop Cambridge, pull this up, right? And I want you to answer these questions. And we've just gone over them, so it should be quite an easy review for you. What I don't want you to do is copy exactly from the marking scheme. These thoughts have to be your own now. So now you have to move from, okay, I'm copying that. Now I have to explain it as if I were talking to, let's say, my 4-year-old little sister. How do I explain this to her? What the best substrate for these organisms to settle on is seagrass leaves, because 10.5% of them settled there. The worst is sand, because 0.2% of them settled on there, right? So that's the kind of stuff you want to look at, right? The next question I want you to see is this one here. Again, Cambridge loves to put the same questions, hi Demetrios, that are important to the syllabus on these tests. So you'll see a lot of these questions over and over, okay? So what I want you to do here is, it says describe each of the following types of interrelationships within a marine ecosystem, giving one example of each. First thing you do is describe the relationship. Symbiosis is a relationship between 2 organisms of different species living in close physical association where, now you can explain mutualism, where one benefits and the other benefits from the interaction. This is called mutualism. An example of mutualism would be coral and zooxanthellae, where the coral provides the reactants for photosynthesis and a safe place for the algae to live, and the algae clean the coral of their byproducts or waste from cellular respiration and provide them with up to 98% of their nutritional needs. Very simple. Then you have parasitism. Parasitism is a symbiotic relationship where 2 organisms of different species live in close physical association. Parasitism is defined as one organism benefiting from the relationship while the other is being harmed. An example of this would be, and then you could say the isopod and fish, or you could say barnacle and crab. I mean, really, you have a lot of options here. Okay, but this has to flow and it has to be your words. Okay, so when you turn this in by the end of the week, I want to see really, really good, well thought out questions. Okay, you guys, again, School of Excellence, Mast Academy. So I really want you guys to focus on that and make sure that you are providing me with the kind of work that I know you guys are capable of. Now, you look here where I just went to. This is Unit 2, Marine Ecosystems Biodiversity, and this is your cheat sheet for that. All you need is this little section right here to help you. There's some examples. And then this is the definitions. And you should have this. I gave you this copy before you were studying for the exam, or before you took the exams, excuse me, okay? All right, that is one of your first assignments for this week. You only have 2 more, and you'll have until next week to have it completed. This one will be Friday, but then the other 2, it'll carry on until next week, okay? I miss you guys. Wish we were in class together. Bye.